My name is Sarah, and today I'm joined by Amy, Ali, and Hannah.
Hi.
Hi guys. We're student midwives and we're going to talk about issues around the COVID-19 vaccine for pregnant and breastfeeding women. As pregnant and breastfeeding women were excluded from initial COVID-19 vaccine trials, data that guides our decision making is lacking.
Yeah, true. Unfortunately, medical trials are generally full of white men and we don't get a lot of information about other groups.
Yes, Rand's COG believes the Pfizer vaccine has been shown to be safe for pregnant women based on accumulated real-world evidence from other countries. On the 9th of June this year, Ranskog and Atagi recommended that pregnant women should have access to the Pfizer vaccine and should routinely be offered it at any stage of their pregnancy. In July, the Australian government approved this and announced that pregnant women were now eligible for Pfizer. Over the last couple of months, we have seen COVID cases dramatically increase, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria. And in response to this, on the 18th of August, pregnant women were added to the priority group for the Pfizer vaccine.
So the question is then, does the COVID vaccine affect women in pregnancy and breastfeeding?
Well, a study done in Israel found that pregnant vaccinated women developed antibody and T-cell responses similar to non-pregnant women, and antibodies were observed in infant cord blood and breast milk.
Similar findings came from a US study with vaccine-generated antibodies present in all umbilical cord blood and breast milk samples. It also found that vaccine-induced immune responses were significantly greater than the responses to natural infections of coronavirus.
And another US study collected data after vaccination health checker reporting systems. This study included over 35,000 pregnant women who had had an mRNA COVID vaccine. It found that side effects following the vaccination were very similar in pregnant people compared to non-pregnant people, and no safety concerns were identified.
So I guess shared decision making can assist pregnant women to make choices that align with their own values. And as midwives, we should support individual decisions to receive the vaccine or not receive it.
I guess factors to consider in discussion include risk tolerance, personal risk of infection, potential impact of the disease on the fetus and newborn, and the efficacy and safety of the vaccine.
I know in practice we've all come across women who are thinking of starting or expanding their family, but who are nervous about the COVID-19 vaccine. It'll be our job to help inform and guide women, but there's a lot of scary misinformation out there.
Yeah. So let's think about how we might talk with women about these things and try to alleviate some of their concerns.
Yeah, from a medical standpoint, there's no basis for this fear, the fear that the COVID-19 vaccine will affect your fertility.
Hang on, what do you mean? There must be a reason why women feel this way.
Yeah, maybe. Well, as I said before, it's mostly anecdotal, so maybe it does exist, but from a medical perspective, it's not proven or evidence-based.
So, Amy, can you explain how the mRNA vaccine works?
Yeah. Starting at the start, we can all agree that all vaccines work similarly. The COVID-19 vaccine that we're talking about for pregnancy and breastfeeding is not a live vaccine. I think that is really important to stress here. The mRNA of the vaccine is taken into your cells and enables your body to produce a protein that resembles parts of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It's sometimes called a spike protein. Because RNA is unstable, it breaks down quickly once this occurs. It's also unable to enter your cell's DNA, so cannot make changes to your cell's fundamental structures. So in the same way as other vaccines that women are encouraged to have during pregnancy and planning a pregnancy, such as influenza and whooping cough, it's safe.
It's good to remember, though, that fevers, infections, and immune reactions can cause temporary changes to our menstrual cycle anyway, and therefore our fertility.
Yeah, well, 33,221 women to date in the UK have reported some changes to their period after receiving the vaccine, which they have described as heavier or delayed periods. Putting that in perspective, though, 46.9 million women have had the COVID-19 vaccine in the UK.
Possible that that's not a true indication of the women who are affected. Could these figures be influenced by cultural differences too? I imagine there would be some cultures where women wouldn't report changes to their periods or even want to talk about their periods.
Yeah, very true. I think that could be a real possibility, Hannah. All side effects, regardless of how mild, though, are constantly being monitored and shared across countries.
Yeah, apparently parents of adolescent daughters have raised concerns with health professionals about potential effects on future fertility. But really, adolescent women often initially have changing menstrual cycles anyway. Things like stress and weight changes affect their cycles and fertility. And actually, this is an issue for all of us currently in lockdown around the world.
Yeah, hormones are very responsive to what's happening in our lives, especially our sex hormones. I love the expression, no one who's busy running from a lion stops to reproduce.
Yeah, that's so true.
A US study of over 35,000 pregnant women showed the rates of miscarriage and placental abnormalities occurred at similar rates between vaccinated and unvaccinated pregnant women.
Thanks, Amy. It's really good to clarify some of the misinformation that's out there. Look, another group I've been thinking about of women who might have questions about the vaccine are those who are breastfeeding.
Yeah, I had an unvaccinated woman with a breastfeeding newborn ask if they can get the vaccination.
Yeah, look, the short answer is yes, they can. In Australia, the mRNA vaccine, so Pfizer or Moderna, are the recommended ones for breastfeeding women, same as pregnant women. A breastfeeding woman can be vaccinated at any time. She doesn't need to stop breastfeeding before or after having the vaccination. Some of the studies just mentioned by Amy actually have shown that breastfeeding women experience similar side effects after having an mRNA vaccine as the general population.
So women don't need to worry about any additional side effects just because they're breastfeeding?
No, not at all. There's limited direct research on the safety of the vaccines in breastfeeding women, same as we were saying before. However, there is this abundance of real world evidence now, given that over 2 billion people around the world have now been fully vaccinated. And although there's not an abundance of research in this area, there's no theoretical safety concerns with the mRNA vaccines. The mRNA in the vaccine is rapidly broken down in the body, just like Amy said before. And so that means it's quickly destroyed in the baby's gut. And therefore, it's extremely unlikely to have any effect on the baby.
If anything, there could actually be a protective factor for the baby.
Yeah.
This is because, as you described earlier, Sarah, a small number of studies have found that the antibodies that are produced in response to having the vaccine pass into the breast milk. Theoretically, this may provide the breastfeeding baby with some protection against COVID-19.
However, it's important to note that there haven't yet been any studies to confirm this.
Yeah.
So what about the AstraZeneca, Ali? Can breastfeeding women have that too?
Well, the AZ vaccine also, like the others, hasn't been formally studied in breastfeeding women. However, just like with the others, there's no theoretical reason why it can't be used during breastfeeding. It's not a live vaccine and it can't cause COVID in the baby. The current advice from the Department of Health is that if an mRNA vaccine is not available, women can consider AstraZeneca after talking to their healthcare provider about the benefits and potential risks. And that's the same as for anyone under 60 in Australia.
What about people who are worried about the ingredients for the vaccine? For example, what if a woman avoids eating a particular food because of the impact on her baby? What's in the vaccine?
That is a great question because there are so many rumors out there about what may or may not be in these vaccines. The other day, I received a flyer in my letterbox saying it was like warning, don't have the vaccines because they contain fetal products.
What? Oh, honestly, some information that's being spread around is a real problem and simply wrong.
Yeah.
The New Zealand government addresses this issue on their health department website. They have a list of things that are not in the Pfizer vaccine, and this includes animal products, antibiotics, blood products, DNA, egg proteins, fetal material, gluten, microchips, pork products, preservatives, soy, and latex.
Yeah, so hopefully that list can put people's minds at ease.
It certainly puts my mind at ease. It's actually quite interesting to see the impact getting COVID-19 has on pregnant women, especially for those who decide that they don't want to get the vaccine. It's important to look at the impact of COVID-19 on women during pregnancy, as it's actually found that women who are pregnant often fall into the vulnerable group category.
So this actually means that pregnant women who have a higher risk of contracting symptomatic COVID-19 and suffering from more severe symptoms, including fever, cough, and trouble breathing.
So we know that pregnant women are vulnerable, but what are the risks if they do test positive?
If a woman does test positive, it's likely that she would experience the same symptoms as those who are not pregnant. However, statistically, COVID-19 in pregnancy can increased the risk of admission to intensive care units by 4 times. And twice as many pregnant women with symptomatic COVID-19 die than those who are not pregnant.
Gee, that is actually significant.
What specific vulnerabilities affect pregnant women who contract COVID, and why does it present so severely in some women, Hannah?
So women in marginalised groups, such as those who are homeless, Indigenous, or from a migrant community, as well as women who have pre-existing comorbidities, are more often to be affected by COVID-19.
And don't forget women who suffer from pregnancy-specific conditions like gestational diabetes and preeclampsia.
That's true. Women in these categories are twice as likely to be admitted to intensive care or die from COVID-19 as opposed to those who are not pregnant and fall into the same category.
In thought that severity of COVID-19 in pregnant women can also be linked to some of the physiological changes that take place during pregnancy. As the baby grows, the pregnant woman's lung function decreases as their body needs more oxygen. The volume of blood being pumped around the body also increases, meaning that the heart has to work harder.
And in a small percentage of women, pregnancy can alter how the body fights viral infections. And some viral infections like the flu can present more severely.
I know that amongst pregnant women, the highest risk for becoming severely unwell from COVID are those who are 28 weeks and beyond.
So do we know if women with COVID-19 have a greater chance of preterm labour, if that's the case?
Well, there's actually not much information on this, but one systematic review of 192 studies showed that pregnant women who become very unwell with COVID-19 have a higher risk of going into preterm labour, and their babies have a greater risk of being admitted to the neonatal unit. However, in most cases, it was found that these babies born before 37 weeks did not contract COVID-19, and most of their vulnerabilities were associated with their prematurity.
That's great, Hannah. Thank you. Well, we've covered quite a lot here today. Hopefully this has helped to sort out some of the facts from the fiction for all student midwives out there.
There are some great resources on these topics put out by the ACM and the Australian government, so check out the links in our description.
Well, ladies, it's been great chatting today. Catch you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.